Now, a lot of people don't realize that your wrist and forearm position at address can actually cause you to early extend. Let me explain that a little bit. So when we get in setup, if we go for a neutral grip, you'll see there's not much extension. As you can see with the hack motion here, there's not much extension through that lead wrist. And then the forearm rotation, because we're in a neutral grip, we don't see too much pronation or too much supination at address. Now, where wrist angles or grip specifically can cause you to early extend is when you get a really strong grip and then over pronate the lead forearm. So what that looks like is, if we look at the data as well, you'll see with that really strong grip, we'll get a lot of extension in that lead hand. So that extension, we can see from the data that lead forearm is really pronated or turned over. Now, you may be asking, how can that cause early extension? So when we get into this position, like I say, that wrist is extending, that forearm's really pronated, we get into this position, it really forces this shoulder joint, specifically the humerus bone here, to sit forward. So from this position, you can see if I go neutral grip, not much extension in that lead forearm, and then strengthen it, can you see how it forces this shoulder forward and also rotates my forearm and then causes extension in the wrist? So that's the subtle thing at setup that you'll see. But then how does that cause early extension? Well, because of how this shoulder joint, this glenohumeral joint is sitting, it makes it very difficult then to get a vertical shoulder plane. Now, a lot of the times when you get vertical with the shoulder plane, it pushes that hip, that right hip back, and that stops early extension in the backswing. Now, when we see a lot of guys that have a really shallow shoulder plane, what you'll see is this hip will early extend and they'll lose posture in the backswing. So let's connect that all together. So when we get in this really forward position with this lead forearm, specifically caused by a grip that's too strong and got too much extension in that lead wrist, you see with this hack motion, this causes as well that forearm to over rotate. And what will happen is from there, you can try this at home, it becomes very difficult to then get that lead shoulder to work down unless you're a Dustin Johnson or a freakish athlete. So from here, what you'll see is that we'll then see this motion where that shoulder plane is very flat and level. And you can see, like I say, we get a lot of extension through that wrist, that forearm's rotated, and then that causes this really flat shoulder plane. And then from here, to get to the top of the swing, it's very difficult to then drop that shoulder plane. So we stand up. So I know it's really subtle, but the fact that we start with this extension in the wrist, which then pronates that forearm over, causes a multitude of effects, i.e. the shoulder joint sits forward, that then it becomes very difficult for us to get any side bend in the backswing, especially if we've not got the flexibility. So then we compensate by standing up in the swing. So it's very, very subtle, but simply by looking at how our forearm works and how much extension we have in that lead wrist, it can actually affect how we move the pelvis and thorax in the backswing. It's something that a lot of people think about, but it's huge. Setup is huge, how we move. So just check those positions. This hack motion's a great tool to see if we've got too much extension in that lead wrist at setup, because that can cause, especially with that pronated forearm, too flat of a shoulder plane and early extension through the pelvis. If you've liked this video, please subscribe, hit the like button. There's also a discount code in the description, RE5, for one of these hack motions. Thanks for watching.